What to know when you go through a divorce. What to know when you break up. Hello, y'all. I'm Dianna, Brianne. I don't give advice, suggestions, information, recommendations. I do share with you my perspective on different topics. So, what should you know when you go through a divorce? Well, I don't give advice, so I'll just tell you from my perspective, okay? You know, when you go through a divorce, most often emotions are very, very fragile and they're very, very raw at that time. There can be all kinds of emotions when you're going through a divorce. There can be emotions of anger, there can be emotions of sadness, there can be emotions of disappointment, there can be emotions of uncertainty. There's all kinds of emotions going on at one time. It's sort of like the floodgate of emotions have just been kind of let through. And, you know, major decisions during a time of breakup and of a divorce can be very, very difficult to make. You know, making decisions during that time, you know, I believe that when we're very emotional, that's usually not the best time to make significant decisions. Because if we have to make significant decisions, often they're not the right decisions. But what if you do have to make significant decisions? Well, I believe in surrounding oneself with people that care about us, that are looking out for us, and that are also know the right things to do. You know, going through a divorce, if you talk to other people who've been through a divorce, they may be very raw too, and their emotions may be directing their decisions, which are often not always right thing to do. And so when emotions are directing our decisions, like I said, often they're the wrong decisions. And so often what we want to do is, of course, make the right decisions. And often we have to wait till our emotions subside. When I was very young, I briefly got married. And that marriage ended really for nothing to do with me. It was just to do with some of his own issues that he had had. And I've talked about that in another video. I think it was called Palm Springs Divorce. And anyhow, during that time, you know, I was madly in love and I was brokenhearted. And I remember a moving van coming to our house. And I had been in Los Angeles, but yet I returned home early only to see this big moving van there. Now, he wasn't there, but he had other people moving all of our things out. He did let me know beforehand that he was going to move things out, but I left all the things that I had even come into that marriage with. I had left those there, thinking that we were going back together. So my rationale, well, I was very rational, and yet I was very hopeful that things were going to work out. And so the moving van came and not only took everything that he had come into the marriage with, but everything I had brought into the marriage with and everything that we had collected together. And to be truthful, I never saw anything that had been from mine from that time again. Now, I did see, one time he brought me a little, it was like a little ornament that I had, and that was all that I ever got back. And so, but I was very young. I didn't understand how everything worked. I thought that we were going back together, which we ended up going back together numerous times until I finally broke it off. And yet, what I learned from that is that the emotions were very raw. They were very raw, and sometimes unrealistic and hopeful. And, you know, we always want to hold on to hope because sometimes hope does turn out the way we want. And yet in that situation, it ultimately did not. Even though we had gone back together later, it ended up completely ending. And he went on with his life and I went on with my life. And of course, that's many, 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 many years ago. And it was a very brief marriage. And So what I'm saying is that when you go through a divorce, often you're not thinking on all cylinders, as grandma would say. You may not have all the information. You may be hopeful, or you may be angry, or you may be sad, and you're making your decisions based off of those emotions. And truly, I believe in surrounding myself with competent, right people who are looking out for me in any kind of situation. And people that are wise, that are smart, that are not looking at it from an emotional point of view, but more of an intellectual point of view. What's right? You want to do what's right. You want to do what's fair. And if at all possible, you want to get along, and you want to be fair to each other. And even if one person's being nasty, you want to continue, if at all possible, to be nice. And sometimes that doesn't always work, and yet you want to remain nice. You want to be the person who has it together, not the person who doesn't have it together. When people are angry and nasty, they don't have it together. Okay, so when people are fighting back and forth and bickering back and forth, they don't have it together. So you want to be the one together. You want to be the calm one, the one that's thinking logically, so that you can best get through it. A divorce is a very difficult time for most, if not all, people. Okay, so I thought I'd come on here and talk about that subject. From my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.